So it is my pleasure to welcome you back to our afternoon session featuring a captivating fireside chat by Poornima Mohandas and Rahul MD on the topic fostering collaboration between product marketing managers and product managers. Poornima Mohandas is a business journalist turned product marketer with over 17 years of professional experience. She currently works at Mindtickle, an enterprise SaaS unicorn, as a product marketer. She's been in the B2B SaaS space for the last decade and has worked both in the San Francisco Bay Area and in Bangalore with companies such as Kaleidus Cloud, SAP, and Bird Eye. She's a faculty at the Institute of Product Leadership and teaches product marketing courses at ISBR. She's also a published author in industry journals such as Mind the Product and Product Marketing Alliance. On a personal side, she is an aspiring Madhubani painter, a storyteller at a local non-profit for children, and lives with her husband and 2 girls in Bangalore. Welcome, Poornima. Next, I call upon Rahul. Rahul is a product leader with over 25 years of experience across industries and geographies. Currently, Rahul is a product advisor to 2 product organizations, one in the enterprise AI space and the other in the data and analytics space. A guest faculty with BITS Pilani and IIM Kozhikode, teaching courses on product strategy, product analytics, and agile product management. His past experiences include product roles at technology-led businesses and technology-enabled businesses, working closely with multiple functions including marketing, sales, customer success, and professional services. He has worked in London and New Jersey and has extensive experience working with global teams. Rahul is also a passionate road cyclist, having completed several multi-day tours, including the tour of Nilgiris 2016, tour of Andamans 2019, and tour of Goa 2020. I extend a warm welcome to you both.
All right. So to get started, just a show of hands, how many of you actually work in teams where you have product marketing managers in your teams? Okay, I see a few hands and quite a few without. So maybe to get started, maybe Poornima, you could tell us what product marketing actually does and the value that you bring to the organization in that product marketing role.
Yes, absolutely. Great way to start, right? Before I even go to product marketing, I'm going to ask you all, what is marketing's purpose? Right? Sorry? Sale, is it? Okay, so then what's sales purpose?
So brand and product awareness.
Brand and product awareness, that's great. That's really great. Yeah. And I'm so glad nobody's talking about 4 Ps or 7 Ps or any of that, yeah? I'm really impressed with you folks. But I like to think of it really succinctly, 3 simple words: make sales easier. Right? When your salesperson is calling in on an account, you're making a cold call, the person on the other side should recognize your brand. Right? Immediately, the credibility of that salesperson goes up. And that is marketing's job, providing that air cover. Yeah. So that's marketing. And then within marketing, there are 5 different functions in fairly decent size growing organizations where there's some level of processes and investment and all of that, right? So there's the demand gen and digital function, which takes care of the website and getting leads in, right? Getting the leads flowing into your funnel. So whether it's email, ads, webinars, all of that. Then there is content marketing, which is fairly simple. I mean, you can think about it. What is content marketing is like creating all the blogs, the white papers, ebooks that create awareness about your product in the marketplace, right? Then there is a design, which takes care of the logo, branding, making sure all the brand language, wherever it is represented, is cohesive. And designing all of that, right? Then there's field marketing, which is basically, can anybody guess what is field marketing? Or maybe you already know? Door-to-door sales, is it? Okay, then I'll call it sales, no? Why would I call it field marketing? campaigns, is it? Conferences, there you go. Field marketing is essentially events, conferences, being seen at the right events, right? You don't want to go to every event. You want to be seen where your buyers are likely to be there. So whether it's sponsorships, speaking engagements, hosting dinners and speaking sessions, all of that, making sure you're present there. And then there is product marketing. So what does product marketing do? I would say, it develops positioning, which is essentially how do you talk about your product in the marketplace, right? Like how do you talk about your product in comparison to other players in the marketplace, because nothing exists in isolation, right? So there's also competitive intelligence, which we take care of, which is like, okay, a salesperson is coming up against a certain competitor. How do we win against them? So we give them, materials that can help them win in competitive situations. Then there is analyst engagement, which we'll talk about in more detail as well. But at a high level is, working with the Forresters and the Gartners of the world to really be in their good books, right? And then there is supporting the demand gen function, the larger marketing team, which some of you mentioned, like campaigns, right? Ideation for that. What should the messaging be? Speaking at events, webinars, all of that, right? And those are some of the main functions of product marketing. Of course, sales enablement is a key function as well, right? So enabling your salespeople to succeed. If you want an elevator pitch for product marketing, I would say, how many of you own products in this room as a product manager? Yes? Okay. Do you want another champion in the room? Impress your product marketer. Yeah? And they're going to be talking, shouting from the rooftops about your product every given chance, whether it's at, in front of salespeople. It's about internal championship as well as external, right? So educating the salespeople, educating analysts, educating prospects, all of that. Yeah.
So from what you were saying, Poornima, it sounds like it's more relevant in a B2B organization than a B2C organization. Is that a fair?
Actually, my experience has all been in B2B, so my worldview is a little insular, but product marketing actually started in a B2C setup. Does anybody know which company it actually originated in? Sorry? Little older than that. Pepsi or Coke. Anybody else? Unilever, you're getting very close now. Hot.
P&G?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
It actually started in the FMCG space. But yeah, we are seeing it in newer and newer ways. So this is the flavor. B2B is the world that I'm comfortable with. That's what I can talk about.
Well, it's interesting because even product management started off in FMCG, right? And I'm also a B2B. My specialty is also B2B product management. So, but yeah. So how does product marketing typically work with product management? How do you work together?
I'd like to say I've always been joined at the hip with the product manager, right? Like without a product manager, there's no need for me to exist. Because, and so if you look at the life cycle of a product, right? Right at discovery, it's great if you can be doing that discovery together, because product management can build the right product that actually solves a customer pain point, and product marketing can position it right in the marketplace, right? They actually see and hear the customer's pain point, and you can use just exactly that customer's language and use it to position effectively in the marketplace. I'm sure you worked with product marketing a lot as well, right? Tell us a little bit about your experiences.
Yeah, I think a couple of things to add to what Poornima was saying. I think knowing the positioning of the product because positioning is ultimately where you're trying to position the product in the customer's mind, right? And again, I think that also started off in the FMCG industry. So knowing the positioning as a product manager, if you know where you're trying to position the product, how you're trying to position the product, it helps you fine-tune your product strategy, right? It helps you fine tune your product roadmap, what you should prioritize versus what you shouldn't prioritize. So that positioning exercise with product marketing, I've always found it super useful because it gives me a framework for prioritization. The other thing where I've always collaborated with product marketeers is on for product launches. I mean, people think of it as go-to-market, but I think go-to-market is a very broad term and, it's fairly nuanced. But working with product marketeers to take your product to market is one key area. And there again, what I've generally followed is you tier your launches, right? You have a tier 1 launch, which could be like a big launch. Right? Then you might have that's one end of the spectrum. Maybe you're launching in a new country, right? That's a tier 1 launch. Or you're launching a new major partnership. That's a tier 1 launch. Then at the other end of the spectrum, you could have a bug fix or a small enhancement to a feature. And that might just go out as a release note. Right? So a good practice that I've followed working with product marketeers is to kind of tier your launches so that we spend our efforts judiciously, right? Both the marketing budget and the product management effort, all of that is sort of judiciously spent. So tiering your launches, figuring out the communication plans, and product marketing typically owns those communication plans. But then you work very closely to put together those plans. And I think then during your rollout, sales enablement, which to me is like a gray box. That's something that's typically owned by product marketing from what I see. Maybe you can add to what product marketing does for sales enablement.
Yeah, absolutely. So our customer in product marketing, our customer is sales, right? So everything we do is to serve them, basically. So we help them both at a deal level as well as an aggregate level, right? So for instance, you're adding on to what you said about product launches. If you're launching a new product, I would team up with my product manager and train sales on like, how do we talk about this product, right? What are the triggers you want to be looking at from your customers that are going to make it a worthwhile use case for them, right? What are the questions you should be asking to Thank you. What are some of the questions you should be asking to do discovery? Right? What are the objections that are likely to come up? Say your customer is going to say, hey, I don't have budget for this. Hey, I don't have anybody to manage your product, even if I buy it. So all those kind of objections, how do you handle them? We give them talking points on, hey, this is what you do when the customer says this. This is what you do when customer says X, Y, and Z. And we also help them figure out how do you demo this product, right? Because you don't want the product to be demoed in its entirety. You want to show them a little snippet that catches their curiosity, right? In every meeting, what you want to do with the customer is leave them curious so that they want to know more. They want to know more, right? So how do you keep engaging them like that? So that's at the like at a training level. At an aggregate level, I would say, like, if you think about the sales funnel, is everybody familiar with the sales funnel? Like at the top is your awareness building, and then your customers are considering different products. And then at the bottom is like, there's actually conversion and, they're buying a product, right? So demand gen and digital would operate serving the top of the funnel, like blogs, white papers, all of that, ads. Whereas product marketing would work at the middle and bottom of the funnel. And when I say middle and bottom, it's like, what collateral do salespeople need, right, to succeed? In a B2B situation, typically it's like pitch decks, data sheets, product videos, and at the bottom of the funnel, it's more like, okay, they need validation, right? Customers want to know that they're making the right purchase. So they need ROI calculators, they need customer references, they need customer case studies to make sure that, hey, I'm not going to mess up. I'm not going to lose my job if I make this purchase, right? So we give salespeople all the ammunition they need off the shelf in order to be successful.
And you talked about analyst engagement earlier. Can you maybe elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. How many folks in the room maybe deal with Gartners, Forrester, IDC? Yes, I see a handful of folks. So if you're in the enterprise space, right, your market is, if you're selling to enterprises, basically, your market is fairly large. Analysts are going to be looking at those markets, right? It's a multi-billion-dollar market. Analysts are going to be studying it, researching it, putting out reports, looking at what are the macro trends, looking at vendor comparisons, right? And what product marketing does is product marketing owns that relationship with the analyst, right? We always want to be top of mind with the analysts. We have engagements with them. We have, working sessions with them. When they need something, they reach out to us and say, hey, what do you think? What are you doing with AI today? Or, how are you serving this particular persona? What are the use cases that your customers are using are using your product for? So it's a give and take. I would say we help them with information, anecdotes, use cases, industry information. And what we get in return is, probably we are trying to always get a favorable evaluation, whether it's a Gartner Magic Quadrant evaluation. And why is Gartner and Forrester so valuable? Can anybody tell me why their opinion is valuable? Absolutely. So I was reading the stat earlier, 70% of Fortune 500 companies are clients of Gartner. And what do they go to Gartner for? When they're buying technology, they want a third-party validation, right? Because people are scared of losing their jobs. People are scared of messing up, right? In fact, 50 to 60% of all sales deals end up with no decision. Because people just don't have the confidence to, sign on the check and say, my job is on the line if I sign this multi-million-dollar check. But if a Gartner or a Forrester has validated this vendor and says that, hey, you're in the top quartile, you're in the leaders quadrant, then at least there is faith that, yes, I'm making the right decision. And in fact, I've seen that analyst reports work as the biggest lead magnet. Right, on our website. We purchased the report, we put it on our website. It used to give us multi-million-dollar deals. Because at that stage, when a lead is actually downloading an analyst report, that means they're pretty serious about buying, right? They're going into the nitty-gritty, looking at what the Gartner is saying about you versus somebody else. They're pretty serious. So a little bit about the analyst work.
An interesting anecdote there about people being afraid of losing jobs and delaying the decision. So there's three of my ex-colleagues. They started this data science company, which got acquired by Accenture recently. So I met one of the founders recently, and he was saying after the Accenture acquisition, their sales lead time went down by about 70%. Right? Because it's the Accenture brand which is standing behind them now. So the sales timeline just crunched, and he said, and our pricing power has also increased 3 times. It was good on all fronts, right? So that's the third party or the power of the brand or the validation, that kind of this thing.
Absolutely.
Right? So moving on to another.
I want to talk about events a little bit, right? Probably in a product manager's life, the most important event is CAB, right? Is everybody familiar with CAB? Customer Advisory Board. So maybe we can, have you talk a little bit about what is CAB and why is it so important?
Sure. So Customer Advisory Boards, how many of you are familiar or part of it? Okay, I see a few hands, maybe half the room. So Customer Advisory Board, is it for the customer or is it for us? It's for us. Everybody agrees on that? Right? So it is basically customers advising us like an advisory board, helping us to do what? Is it just to develop the product or? Okay, so if you have to use one word for that, what word would you use?
Find out the problems.
No, one word, for your roadmap and all that. If you had to use one word, what word would that be? Strategy, right? So if you have to figure out your strategy, you need to know where the industry is going. Right? And how do you know where the industry is going? Of course, I can sit in my room or sit at my desk and read reports, but you have a great asset with you who knows where the industry is going. Right? That's your customer. Those are your top customers. They know where the industry is going. They're thinking about it. They're worried about the future. So the customer advisory board to me is a great tool to kind of co-create your strategy along with your customers. So, and also, it also adds value to the customer because they could be thinking of some strategic elements and you could be a key part of that. Right? So is that strategy that they're thinking about, is that possible at all? So it's a two-way street where I think of it as they advise you on your strategy and you're also sort of validating whether their strategy is going to work given where the product is, whether the product that you have can support it or not. I mean, I think at the high level, that's the mind space with which you operate a cab.
What are some best practices that you'd like to share on, how do you run a cab well?
So I think there are multiple angles there again. One is who is part of your cab. That's the first thing. You might have 100 customers, but not all 100 customers would make it to the cab. Right now, then how do you have somebody on the cab? And I think there are two dimensions I would look at. One is, are they an industry leader? Are they a visionary in that industry? Right? In the industry that you're in, are they considered a leader in terms of adoption and how they leverage your product? So that's one key element. And the second is the nature of relationship you have. If they treat you like a vendor, no, you don't want them on your cab. You want a partner on the cab. Right? So I think the relationship is also super important. So the constitution of the cab is one key element. The other element you want to think about is, so for example, if you have Pepsi in the room, you don't want Coke in the same room. Right? I think that's an example that we can all relate to. Right? And I've had situations where, I was in the travel space, B2B travel space. So we used to work with the Amexes of the world, the BCDs, the Carlson Wagonleys, and the HRGs. And we couldn't get all of them into the same room. Right? So I would talk to Amex separately, I would talk to BCG separately, because you can't get them in the same room. So those competitive dynamics also you need to be aware of. Right? So that's one aspect of it. The second aspect is, running a cab is a lot of work. Right? So you need to, before you get these, let's say you have 5 customers, before you get them into the same room, you need to have talked to them separately, individually, figured out what they're thinking, and then come together as a collaborative effort. Otherwise, you bring them all in, the room is just going to explode. And so it'll have the negative effect for you. So there's a lot of prep required. So are you willing to make that commitment? That's a big thing. The third thing that we used to kind of think about was gamifying some of these cabs. People will say anything they want, right? Are you going to do this? Of course we are going to do this. And so, but how do you know whether they're really serious? Right? Is that what they're really planning to do? So we used to gamify it. So we would have like a bunch of items to consider and we would give them fake money, right? And say, where do you want to put the money? Are you putting your money where your mouth is? If not, you're taking me down a rabbit hole that I don't want to go down. Right? So those were, some of the best practices, I think, of running cabs effectively. And so that's running it. But how, so that's from a product management, product strategy perspective. But would want to know from a product marketing point of view, how does that feed into your plans and what do you all do?
Absolutely. So cab is great, even if I'm just a fly on the wall. Right? I always try to attend all the cabs in the world. And if your PMMs are asking you that, they want to join the cab, please say yes to them. Yeah? Be nice. Because it's going to be very helpful. Right from hearing the customer pain point from the customer's mouth, right? From the horse's mouth, there's so much information, the language, the body language, all of that feeds into positioning. We want to know what is a customer getting excited about, right? What is on their mind? Because that can feed into the next quarter's marketing campaign. If we can get a room full of customers excited, it's probably a good chance that, our prospects and other folks are also going to be excited when we run a campaign around it. And of course, hearing there are a few more things that go into campaign direction, really the strategic direction of the company, the product roadmap, where is that heading? Suppose you've decided, hey, we want to be an AI first company. Then obviously your messaging, your campaigns, your ads should all have that language, right, about AI first. And really putting that front and center so that your prospects view you as, being ahead, or now you can't say ahead. If you don't have AI, you don't matter anymore. But, you are keeping up with the times, you are innovating and putting that language out there. So that's how we really benefit from CAB.
Thank you.
I think there was we talked a lot about shiny new objects, right? We will have question time at the end. So Swati is going to give us a time check. 15 more minutes, yeah. I think we'll discuss this one more topic and then we'll open it up for Q&A. We talked a lot about shiny new objects, right? Everybody likes to talk about product launches, releases and all of that, but nobody talks about the dark side of the moon, sunsets and migrations, right? And I know you've had quite a few experiences, Rahul, around that. So can you share some of those with the audience?
Yeah, and I'll try and give it the product marketing collaboration twist to this. Typically, we all talk about new launches, right? But the reality of a product lifecycle is that you will have declines. And at that time, you sunset your product and you have to migrate customers to newer versions, ideally, right? So early on in my product journey, and I had this opportunity to be part of a sunset. I joined this team and they gave me this product sunset, and everybody else was asking, "Oh, what an unlucky guy you are! You're getting to do the sunset. We're all launching new stuff, right?" But I kind of look at it as a learning opportunity. Now, migrating Fortune 500 customers is a lot of planning required, and my partner in crime was my product marketing manager, right? So the two of us used to work very closely together. So, and initially before I joined, they tried this migration, it failed. And then, it was like, okay, let's try this again. And so what we did is the product marketing manager, her name was Tracy. She was an American based in Dallas. So we used to collaborate. So we initially figured out, okay, if you have to migrate customers, how do we do this? So we identified 2 or 3 pilot customers that we wanted to try it with. And to get the conversations moving forward, Tracy and I kind of discussed to see how do we position this migration, right? What's the value proposition for the customer? Why should they be interested? What are the possible pitfalls? Right? And we kind of put together the communication around that, worked with customer success managers for these identified pilot customers. So I would work with the customers to see, okay, have people moved? Are the bookings coming in? Are they using? Is it everything? They made a booking, but are they able to travel? Once they got back from the travel, are they happy with the whole experience? All of that I kind of looked at, and then I would also then feed it back into Tracy, right? And then Tracy kind of tweaked the positioning based on how the migration went for the pilot customers, and then had a broader message out. And over a period of about 9 months, we moved all our customers from the old version to the new version. But that's when I really found the power of product marketing, right? Because as a product manager, you are not necessarily great at crafting that positioning messages and getting it out there, right? So the two of us kind of got it over, and I think that's saying, yeah.
That's a powerful story of collaboration.